Hello and welcome to another episode of the Outside 50 podcast presented by usfootynews.com. As always, our hosts are myself, Rick Shaibani, alongside Ben Martinez and Tara Silky. How you guys doing?
Going well, Rick. How about yourself?
Good.
Doing really well. Excited for another podcast.
Absolutely. And before we do that, I did want to mark a special occasion. I was recently informed by Kraz that we've officially hit 2,000 downloads and exceeded 2,000 as well. So we also want to give a big shout out to everyone who's helped us along the way, be it fans or footy people all around the world. You guys know who you are. We really appreciate you guys sticking with us and being willing to come back repeatedly and listen to how the game is growing in the US and of course what we're doing in the midst of a challenging 2020 season. So again, we really want to give a shout out to everyone who's tuned in, even if it was just once. It means a lot to all of us, and we're genuinely grateful for the publicity and for the opportunity to bring footy to your homes and your living rooms and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, without further ado, we've got Donnie Hess from the Des Moines Roosters. We're still making our way through the Midwest here these last few episodes, and it's great to have you here, Donnie. How you doing?
Thank you for having me on. I'm pretty excited about this. I've been listening to your guys' podcast a little. In fact, I listened to last week's episode, and I thought it was really good. So I thought, why not take the opportunity to talk to you guys?
Yeah, well, we're glad you did. And yeah, as always, we usually like to start from the beginning. Obviously, you're an American. And how did you originally find out about Aussie rules, and what prompted you to play and eventually become a club president?
Well, it was kind of interesting. As a kid, actually, I got lucky. We had the Fox Sports World channel. So, and my father is a massive sports person, kind of watches a little bit of everything. So we watched like rugby tri nations and different things like that. So we actually saw footy when I was 9 or 10 years old. So I was kind of initiated into it and kind of watched it a little bit as a young kid. Unfortunately, the channel disappeared, so I didn't get it for probably most of my high school days. Now I was playing a lot of athletics at the time, and then conveniently about 2009, 2009, I was working at a part-time job or a summer job, and Paul Frad, who is our Australian, who kind of helped Tyler Cameron and Wes Cameron start the Roosters here in town, happened to come into my job looking for some parts, and I noticed the accent, started chatting with him rugby, and he's like, "Hey, we've got an Australian girls football team. How'd you like to join?" I'm like, "Well, sure, that'd be awesome." I had seen the sport before, thought it was really cool. Came out to my first training, and you kind of catch the bug. And for 2 or 3 years there, I played solid, and then had some job issues. Took a couple of years off. Came back for a couple seasons, and I mean, if you know me, I'm kind of a bigger guy, so I'm not exactly known for my speed and skill. So I took a couple of years off, thought about retiring, and then one of our senior coaches wants to get one last year in, so he called me up. He's like, "Hey, how'd you like to coach?" And I coach in the meantime seventh grade boys basketball here in Iowa, and I thought, what the heck, why not? So came back last year. It was my first year coaching. Not the president. It'd be cool, but I don't know if I want that much responsibility yet. So I'm just the head coach right
That's awesome. How long have you been playing, Donnie?
now. About 5 or 6 years altogether, give or take. My first nationals was 2010 in Louisville.
Okay.
Very cool. And Des Moines has been around since around that time, right? You guys were founded in 2009, correct?
Yep, if I remember correctly, they started training that May. I came in about July, so it was about 2 or 3 months in when I actually joined the squad. So I'm kind of one of the original founders, but not, like I said, the original three are the two cameraman brothers and then Paul Frad. So, but I'm one of the old, kind of the old guard that's still in and around the club now. So.
Very cool.
Very cool, Donnie. What do you feel has been the keys to the growth of the club over the time you've been there? What have you seen as some of the big factors there?
I think the biggest thing for us is we have a lot of good guys that fell in love with the game. There's still a lot of players that were around in 2009, 2010, some of my first couple of years. We've had a lot of guys that stayed around, and then we've caught best friends, we've caught work buddies. We've kind of slowly kind of progressed. We've kind of fluctuated numbers the last 5 or 6 years just because some of our better players or some of our players that have been around a while are slowly getting to that age where the body just can't take it anymore. And we've gotten lucky the last couple of years. We've got some really good recruiting classes in the male side, and then this last year we had 6 women training for the longest period of time, which was really really awesome to slowly start seeing a women's program come here in Des Moines.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, Minnesota, of course, has developed a really solid women's footy program. We talked to Caitlin O'Malley in Wisconsin. They're doing some really good things up there as well. So it's great to see that growing and taking off. And it's great that recruiting in general is going well because Iowa is pretty rural. It's a pretty isolated area, and Des Moines is right in the center of the state, and it's not a huge city. So it's good to see some positive momentum being carried over from season to season. That can definitely be challenging when it comes to, being in kind of an isolated part of the country that might not have a ton of Aussies or interested Americans either. And it's funny, I was talking to Tara about this before we started recording. A couple of years ago when we did the Rob Dollar Cup for the first time in Phoenix, LA Dragons and Arizona Outlaws co-hosted it. But yeah, there were a couple of Des Moines blokes who came over, and it wasn't a full side. It was, like 3 or 4 guys, but I was just impressed that they came all the way from Iowa down to Phoenix. And I had a chat with them, at the pub afterwards when we were having a chat and a beer. And they were basically saying that there's a surprising number of Aussies, a lot of whom who come over for farm work, or they kind of do a little jackaroo thing in the agricultural sector in Iowa. And I'm sure that's great. I've always been of the mentality that, not all the Aussies are going to be here forever. Thankfully, in LA, we've got a lot of guys who work keeps them here for an extended period. They're on renewable visas. It's not an issue at all for them to stay. But other clubs aren't so fortunate, but they are fortunate at the same time to have that experience, have those Aussies that can really help mentor the younger players.
Yeah, and I think for us, it's always been kind of a fluctuating. I mean, the majority of our guys are Americans. We don't have a lot of Australians that find their way here. Most of the Australians that are here, it's usually the prototypical. They married an American girl. The American girl is from that part of the country. That's where they end up staying. Paul Frad married a girl from Adel, Iowa, which is actually where I coach seventh grade boys basketball. So it's kind of an interesting thing that it's like we have 2 or 3 Aussies that'll pop in. We'll occasionally get an Australian that'll find their way into Des Moines and they'll see, hey, there's a footy team here. Let's go see them, and they'll come out to training, but they're kind of passing through. So I think for most of us, we've gotten lucky that a lot of the guys that have joined the club are Americans that just they've fallen in love with the game and continued it. And in fact, this actually last year we had 2 Irish guys who are working part time here in the city. And one popped up at training and was like, "Hey, I'd like to play." I'm like, "Sure, come on out." And conveniently, 2 practices later, he brings one of his buddies, and those 2 guys had an amazing time at nationals this year. And every time I chat with them, they're excited for this season. Crossing our fingers, maybe. Guess
Mm.
we'll see.
That's really awesome. And yeah, again, a lot of other people in bigger cities where, they're bigger teams, they probably wouldn't guess that the Roosters are doing so well. But again, you guys have been around for only about a decade, but you're still doing a solid job. And obviously, I wasn't at nationals this past year because I was playing in Australia. But I'm sure you guys had a really good time and are looking to carry that momentum into the next season.
Yeah, we actually had a really good nationals this year. We last 2 or 3 years we kind of struggled. We'd always get through the first game, we'd win it, and then the second game would be a little bit of a drop off. And this year we played Atlanta in the first game, and it was kind of a really really rough game because there's still a lot of dew on the ground. So the footy was like trying to grab a bar of soap. It was so difficult for the guys. And eventually, kind of about the second half, the footy started getting a little drier, and we were able to use the ball really well. In the second game, we played a Minnesota team that wasn't exactly the most talented team in the world. They had a lot of older players. They kind of joined in with Seattle, and we got on a roll. We kicked the first 8 goals of the game, or 7 or 8 goals of the game, and we kind of blew them out in the first half, and then kind of just played real good, solid footy the rest of the game. Our third game, we ended up beating DC by like 2. which was awesome to get us to a grand final, which we hadn't been in since I think 2012 was the last time the Roosters had gotten that far. And we got nipped by Ohio Valley by 2 points in the grand final. So second place is pretty good for my first year of coaching. I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was Div 4, correct?
Yeah.
Cool.
So, going back to coaching, since that's currently what your kind of main focus is now on the team, what is your coaching philosophy and what do you see as the most important aspect of coaching footy?
Well, I think in this, especially with this age group, it's less about kind of telling people what to do and more just kind of letting them be who they are. I'm really with, especially with a lot of these guys, they know me, I know them. I know their skill level, I know where they excel, where they don't. The biggest thing is with the new players is kind of finding a little niche where they'll fit to where they can fit in with the club and fit in with the group and not kind of take away from what we're really strong at. We've got some great midfielders. We've got some guys that are really, really good goal kickers. Our biggest thing always tends to be is everybody wants to be a goal kicker. Not everybody wants to play in the back. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes you got to find the guys that are willing to go back there. And we've had a couple of veterans that are really solid in the back, and I've liked them back there. So my philosophy is kind of just I gotta let the players play and do what I can. So
That's great. Yeah. I mean, I play in the back line, so I love the back line, but that's why I've always played there during sports, is because no one else wants to play it, so I get lots of playing time. But I was actually going to ask you, you kind of mentioned new players and having to coach them. How do you balance new player and rookies with veteran players? How do you combine those during trainings or games or whatnot as a coach?
I think the biggest thing for me is just making sure that they understand that when they come in, we're not going to try to throw you in the deep end quickly. We try to really get your basic skills down as much as possible. I know sometimes with our numbers, especially towards the fall season, when people are kind of getting their vacation times in, different stuff like that, just for our nationals, sometimes we had to kind of throw some rookie players or newer players in a little bit quicker than we wanted to. But we try to, at least for the first probably half an hour of practice, just make sure that they know the handball skills are correct, the kicking skills are correct, because the best part about Americans is they don't have bad habits. So you can teach them the correct way to kick, the correct way to handball as best you can. Um, and then I think we kind of slowly put them in, and if they have any troubles, we'll pull them out. The good thing is having a lot of veteran players is that if I feel that a guy can teach a guy, I'll pull him. Hey, can you show this guy how to do a handball real quick? They'll go off. They'll handball individually, so then I can work with the group and kind of get something maybe a little bit deeper than a rookie player might know, which kind of helps me out. Like the one nice thing about having a lot of veterans on the team is that I can kind of hand off a few responsibilities. A lot of these guys are pretty good at explaining things.
Oh, and it's great to have that. It's invaluable, I reckon, in terms of uh, getting new players up to speed. It's something where in recent years here in LA, we've been lucky to have a bunch of Americans who are already pretty fit. Some CrossFit guys, some former rugby guys, some former basketball guys, people who are really keen, who really embrace the tough physical aspect of the sport that we know and love. So I think that's really good. And, if they're already keen to hit some people, it's just a matter of time before they know how to take a mark correctly or kick correctly or hand pass correctly. And I think with you guys in Des Moines, and this is something that I was just thinking about, because I think, like most Americans, we tend to think of the Midwest and the way the Midwest plays sports. Obviously, it's a very sports centric part of the country, but you look at basketball, you look at gridiron, all those Midwestern teams, whether it's college or the NFL, they really pride themselves in that blue collar toughness. Not super flashy, not a sexy team to watch necessarily, but they're going to make you hurt the next morning. So has that really played a role in giving the Roosters an identity in terms of just being like, hey, this is who we are. We're going to play hard. We're going to play fast. We're going to play physical. How has that really manifested itself in playing an already physical sport?
I think we kind of embrace it. Definitely the blue collar part of us definitely plays out. I can't tell you how many times at nationals we'll have guys from the other team go, "You guys are physical. How do you guys continue to play all year long?" We're just like, it's just kind of the way we are. I remember my second or third year going to nationals. We played a Vegas team, and they were like, "You cornfed Iowa boys are big," and we kind of were like, okay, it's like we kind of play to our strengths. I mean, again, being mostly Americans, sometimes we got to make up for what we lack in the pure skill and just toughness and grit. And I think that's kind of the thing that most of the guys kind of embrace. We play together, we play tough, hard footy, and sometimes we rub people the wrong way. We don't try to. It's kind of the brand of footy we've been known for. I mean, still remember nationals this year. DC was we're not too happy with us after that game because we shepherd, we hit, we tackle, we put you in the ground. That's one of the things that I really wanted to pride our guys on. So I said, if we're going to tackle somebody, you're going to feel it. We want you to feel it.
I think all of us here on the podcast knows what that like. I think we all play for very aggressive and physical teams for sure, so that's great. Who have you enjoyed playing the most, or who have you enjoyed creaming the most? I guess.
Mm, well, you got to say our the closest team now is Minnesota. We've always had kind of this oh fun little rivalry with them, shall we say? Especially those first few years, man. They would just trounce us. We
Mm.
were definitely you could definitely tell the golf in class between them and us. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've definitely I think we've closed that gap. We're still not completely there. Our numbers just aren't sufficient enough for us to give us the side that we really want. I got to give it. Minnesota is always a tough team, and we try to schedule them as much as we can because we know, being a D2 side, that they're going to make us better. I think we rub them the wrong way because sometimes some of their Australians and some of their more skilled guys don't like to be hit. And we had a game in Des Moines where I had several guys pretty bruised up the next training because we hit them and hit them and hit them. We did everything we could to try to kind of even the game out as much as possible.
Yeah, there you go. That's kind of what you have to do when you might feel like you're at a disadvantage, maybe schematically or height wise or size wise. It can definitely it's the great equalizer, and you can't go wrong with being physical and playing some old school footy. But kind of alluding to the fact that you guys have a great little rivalry going with the Freeze. You all were planning to host the I-35 uh, tournament this year, and I assume that's been put on hold because of COVID. But what was the plan for that, and what teams were preparing to swing by Des Moines and have a kick?
Let's see, 80-30 is our usual tournament we do every year. We try to get as many teams as close to us as possible. I know Denver always tries to make it out. It's a really good tournament for them. Minnesota, Chicago, I know Oklahoma's two teams try to get up there. We literally, I think, especially chatting with the board, is we're really trying in maybe the next few years. I mean, this year, obviously, is not going to go when we normally do, which would be, I think, this weekend was when it was originally scheduled.
Mm.
We're hoping, if all this COVID stuff, cross our fingers again, gets to a point we're hoping maybe late fall, and trying to get maybe a mini tournament in just to be able to get some guys some run. I know when we played at nationals this year, Sacramento was extremely interested in coming out because we kind of played with them. They kind of helped out fill out our D4 side, and they really enjoyed playing with us. So we told them, we said, our next 80-35, you want to come out, just let us know.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of a model that we're seeing pop up all the time. Like on previous episodes of the podcast, we've talked about the Rob Dollar Cup, the Stumptown Cup in Portland. Of course, Savannah, Georgia was going to be hosting a tournament this year. It's great to see like little, I guess, almost mini regionals pop up with different clubs as the game grows throughout the country. And it's great because obviously, as long as you have the facilities, as long as you have the fields and the numbers, it can be a really, really fun weekend or day of playing. So hopefully that resumes without issue later on in the year or potentially in 2021. It's a phenomenal thing that you guys are doing. I didn't even know you were doing it annually now, which is a real testament to your hard work up there. And based on what you've been saying, obviously you guys had a great year last year. You were runners up in Div 4. Do you guys have your sights set on Div 3 and Div 2? Because Chicago, Minnesota, all your neighbors, all your footy neighbors are more or less in that ballpark. So, were you guys hoping to qualify for Div 3 or maybe Div 2 this year?
I think it all just kind of depends on our numbers. We've been trying to keep contacts of everybody. Unfortunately, this COVID thing has really made recruiting difficult because we've had several guys that have said, "Hey, I've got a coworker that wants to come out and play." We're like, "That's great," and then all this happened, and it's kind of like we'll have to see kind of how it goes. I think right now we're just trying to keep in contact with everybody. Yeah, I mean D3 would be awesome. We really wanted to do D3 last year, but 5 or 6 of our guys couldn't make it to the nationals, so we were kind of just short of making it. So we kind of had to play D4, which kind of ended up being kind of nice because we did really, really well. But yeah, D3, D2. I mean, eventually I want to go kind of step ladder-ish with us is D3, D2, and see how it goes.
Yeah, I know Denver definitely was looking forward to the 8035 tournament. We always were so excited to come out. Our boys love it, and the ladies were really looking forward to it this year. And I know you guys and everyone else has been put on hold for COVID. But not just this year, but what are you guys looking forward to for the future of your club? Where do you guys see yourself in the next couple of years going?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us is just continuing the growth of our men's program and our women's program. Like I said, we had 6 girls come out training. Sadly, one of them had a medical issue, so she can't play anymore, but she was still coming out. In fact, it was really awesome that she still came out and supported the clubs. We told her, keep coming out, please. But the biggest thing I think for us is just continued growth in numbers. First, because I mean, you can't sustain a club if you can't keep people there. And with some of our players getting up there in age now and getting up there in years played, the body can only take so much beating. So our biggest thing is just continuing to grow numbers to where maybe consistently we're playing D3, consistently playing D2, maybe even setting a hens side, shall we say, for a women's team. In fact, kind of going off that, is I actually got to coach your girls last year at our 8035 tournament. The girls that did come over, we joined with them and they didn't have a coach. So they asked me if I would coach the Denver girls and our girls together. So that was kind of a lot of fun to meet some of the Denver girls, a lot of younger girls, but they had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did have a lot of younger players attend. Well, not a lot, but we had a lot of younger ones attend. Not a lot of players, but they always recommended you, and they said you were awesome. So thanks for that, Donnie.
Yeah, no problem. I didn't mind it. We ended up playing pretty well against Chicago. Minnesota was a little difficult because they're really good. So, but it was
Yeah.
a good experience for all of our players and your girls as well.
That's awesome. And kind of looking at recruitment specifically, one thing that I think plays a big role in recruitment, even if it might not seem like it at first, is sponsorship. Because the way I see it is, sponsorship is huge because every footy club needs a hometown pub, right? And
Mhm.
if you invite people to the pub, they'll probably want to play footy. So it's something where I think it's very proactive because we talk a lot about in the podcast about Anzac Day events, grand final events, all sorts of things that not just unite Americans and Aussies, but get people involved. Helps with recruitment. It's very proactive, like I said. So what do you guys do in terms of getting local sponsorship, getting businesses involved, you know, getting people aware that you guys exist, and also getting new talent to come into the club as well?
I'd probably have to chat with our president a little. He'd have probably a little bit more in-depth stuff on that. I know we have our sponsor bar is the Royal Mile downtown, which is an old English pub that I mean, as soon as we came in, we chatted with them. They hopped on almost instantly and have been with us ever since. In fact, they're quite happy with us because us as a group donated $700 to their restaurant since they had so many issues with COVID for gift cards just to kind of give them some money, and they gave us a shout out, which I thought was really really cool, and I was really proud of the members of our club to do that. We also have there's another kind of brewing company called Exile Brewing Company here in Des Moines that have also been with us. They're a little less active with us because they're still kind of getting their business together. I know with us, it's just kind of a lot of word of mouth right now. We try to get on news channels as much as we can, but I mean, at this present point right now, it's kind of word of mouth, to be completely honest with you.
Well, on that hand, so why should people want to play for Des Moines? Like, what is your biggest attribute for the team?
I think we're a really, really tight knit group. A lot of us, I mean, it's kind of the way footy is. You build lifelong friendships with it. I mean, there's guys that I've known since the first year that I'm coaching now, which is so much fun because I know them so well, and we really kind of tight knit. We got a group me app that we keep in touch with each other. I know I've been texting as many of the guys as I can, saying, "Hey, how you doing? If you need anything, let me know." I chat with players. I mean, if they're having any issues with job wise, we're always kind of networking with each other. So it's like we're kind of a tight knit group. No matter what it is, we're mates. We really take pride in that, and I think that's one of the things most of the guys that stay around say. If you need anything, I had a tire issue one time, and a player was willing to help me get me home if I needed to. So that's kind of the best thing about it is that we're mates. I love it. So.
That's so important.
Yeah, that's excellent, Donnie. I mean, that sounds like you've got all the key ingredients for success, both now and long term. I mean, you're getting you've got the schedule where you're playing a diverse range of teams, different skill sets from Minnesota, Chicago, DC, Atlanta. You're getting a lot more exposure than what a lot of clubs do across the country, that's just only going to benefit your boys and girls, down the track. You've got a great culture. You're getting into the community. It's phenomenal. You've got that American contingency as well, which a lot of clubs would be jealous of. Because there are a lot of clubs that rely on their expats, on those Aussies. So the future certainly sounds like it's bright for you guys, and you're moving ahead well, which is phenomenal. That's great work.
Thank you very much. I know it. Any expat that comes out, we're more than willing to let them play. But it's just unfortunately, we don't have mountains, we don't have oceans, we don't have surfing, we have cornfields and footy. Unfortunately.
Well, hey, it's you go to regional Victoria or regional Queensland and places where you wouldn't expect to find much else besides footy, and you can still find really high quality footy. So it's you can never let geographic disadvantage you as a club, because like there's a lot of stuff that's appealing to starting a footy club in America's heartland, as they say, and like I said, the Midwest is sports crazy. We all know that here in the U.S. And it's great that you guys are finding a way to thrive, even when maybe reality might dictate that there wouldn't be a thriving club in Des Moines. But you guys are proving the naysayers wrong, I reckon. And again, the future looks very bright, and I think there's a lot of positive things to build on. And you guys are on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, right?
Yep. The Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I know
Awesome.
for sure. The website, unfortunately, hasn't been touched in 2 or 3 years, so unfortunately, that doesn't help us out too much. But I run the Twitter and Instagram and Facebook are all being run. So it's like if we have any chance to reach out, please reach out. We're more than willing. And to anybody that's in the USAFL, if you're ever through Des Moines during the footy season and want to train with us, the door is always open.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll all take advantage of that if we happen to be in that part of the world. And thanks so much for stopping by, Donnie. You're a legend. We really appreciate you tuning into the podcast and helping us out here. And we're really looking forward to see the Roosters at Nationals, hopefully sooner. But we'll definitely be seeing you guys down in Ontario, California in October. So best of luck on the season. And I'm sure you guys are training hard, and it's going to be fun having the gang back together again. So hope to see you at Nationals, and best wishes.
Thank you very much. I hope so too. I want to cross my fingers, but we'll have to see. Right now, Mayor Newsom's not helping.
I was just saying, let us know about the 80-35 tournament as well. I'll be really interested to see if that ends up happening or if we can get that going because I know a lot of us are really looking forward to that. It's a highlight of our year.
Yeah, I'll definitely make sure the president. I mean, if we get to go, we're going to put it on everything we can because I know it's always one of our favorite tournaments. All the players look forward to it every year. 10-a-side tournament, so much fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is. Well, great. Let us know if we can help support you any other way. And it was wonderful talking to you today.
All right, thank you very much. You guys have a nice night.
Cheers, Donnie.
You too, Donnie. All the best. Cheers.
Outside 50 is brought to you with the help of Play Aussie USA. Play Aussie is the only place in the USA you can buy the famous Sheeran football, a proud sponsor of the USAFL. Visit them at playaussie.com.